Welcome students, I am Miss Grace Gutierrez and for today's session in Technology for Teaching and Learning, I will discuss enhancing sample images in Adobe Photoshop. So, before we proceed to our discussion, let me read first to you our objectives. So, at the end of the lesson, students are expected to describe the Adobe Photoshop. The next one is recognize the basic functions and editing tools of Adobe Photoshop. And the last one is appreciate the importance of Adobe Photoshop in teaching and learning. I have here a photo and tell me what do you think the artist wanted to communicate. Type your answer in the chat box. Go. Okay, very good. So now let's proceed to our main topic. And now let us define what is Adobe Photoshop. So Adobe Photoshop is a software that is extensively used for raster image editing, graphic design, and digital art. So when we say raster image or bitmap, it's a compiled using pixels or tiny dots containing unique color and tonal information that come together to create the image. And next, it makes use of layering to allow for depth and flexibility in design and editing process. Provide powerful editing tools that when combined are capable or just of anything. So Adobe is a tool that makes it easier for the artist to bring their ideas to life. And Adobe was originally created in 1988 by Thomas and John Knoll. And now, let's proceed to the Adobe editing tools. The first tool is Quick Select tool. This is a natural place to start with, as you'll likely be using it a lot in your image manipulation project. So when you choose an area, Photoshop can detect and select the edges so you don't have to trace them manually. Because Adobe is good at detecting the edges of an object. So, to begin with, choose the Quick Select tool by clicking on the icon of the paintbrush with the dotted line coming from it. Alternatively, you can use the short key Shift W. You may need to press the keys more than once, depending on your version of Photoshop. Having chosen the Quick Select, drag or paint over the portions of the image that you want to select or isolate. The second one is Lasso Selection Tool. This is a freehand selection tool that can be used in a very similar way to Quick Select tool we talked about above. It is probably the easiest to use and understand because you simply drag a freehand selection around the object or an area you want to select. It is a similar way on how you would outline something in a paper using a pencil or a pen. However, the Lasso Tools offers a few options to help guide your selections. You can use this tool like standard lasso, polygonal lasso, and magnetic lasso. For the standard lasso, it's a simple click and drag movement. Continue it all around the edges of the object that you want to select. Make sure not to let the mouse button until you reach back around the beginning of the object. And for the polygonal lasso, the first of two secondary options is helpful to assist you with selecting straight edge objects. If you are choosing an object with high contrast to the background, the magnetic lasso is a great option. It creates anchor point as you move your mouse. Make sure to connect the last anchor points to complete your selection. The lasso with all variations works best for simple objects against flat backgrounds. It's it's fast and accurate way to make your selection, whether to remove it or to copy into a new environment. The third one is Refine Edge Brush Tool. This tool excels at selecting fine details, such as those in very small objects, or things like hair or fur. Refined Edge Brush Tool is a brush that can fix that hard to select areas while effectively masking in the background. So it allows you to precisely select this area of the picture you want to crop out, such as your friend or family members, or even the branch of trees. You can use the tool on the entire object, but it's easier and less time consuming to use broader tool such as quick select first and then fill in the details with the refined edge brush. The next one is camera roll filter. This filter works well on its own, but is also as a great step in double exposure project. So to apply camera raw adjustments via Photoshop, go to the filter menu and choose camera raw filter. The camera filter allows you to use the function of the ACR interface and any adjustment at any time within the Photoshop. So, to select the camera raw filter to your image, go to filters and find camera raw filter on the drop down menu. Next is double exposure with layers. Layers are such a basic part of using Photoshop to create anything that you may not even think of them as a tool. So double exposure layers is a technique that combines two or more images by layering one on top of another. And initially, double exposure was created using multiple exposure to create a single image. So, using the same photo as the previous tool with the camera raw filter, you can make further adjustments to the photo using filters such as black and white. Make the first photo your top layer. Next, import a second picture and create it as layer underneath the first. Change the opacity of the first layer in order to let the second show through behind. And you can make further adjustments to the photos individually by selecting the layer you want to work on. And next is color highlight with color range tool. It's common to use tools such as grayscale or black and white to change the overall look of a photo. So color highlight allows you to select parts of an image based on its color, and this makes it easy to select one specific color and then change it to a whole or saturation or brightness. To find the color, select the object you want to keep colorized. And next, select color range at the top of the program. There are some color ranges preloaded, but if they're not true to the color in the photo and they're not exactly what you want, then use the sample color selection tool to choose the color you want to highlight. You can adjust the sliders of fuzziness and saturation to make sure you get the exact color you want. Next is Colorize with Hue Saturation Adjustment. This is a helpful tool for further defining details for a colorized project, giving you increased accuracy. So it command adjust the hue, saturation, and lightness of the entire image or individual color components in an image. In selecting the area you're going to work with, load the selection as a layer mask. Clear out anything that you don't want to colorize. Here, you will have the choice of altering the hue, saturation, and lightness of your selection. Adjust the options until you reach the color you desire. And the next one is Overlay Brush. It has a very noticeable fall off in brightness to one side. The overlay layer affects the layer underneath. It is added to your photo as an extra layer. Overlays can create an extra dimension and texture to your photos. To start with, select your brush tool whether from the toolbar or by hitting B for brush. If you use your brush in normal mode, It will function as a paintbrush and brush over anything you click on. So instead, at the top where it gives you the normal mode option, use the drop down menu to select the overlay. And next is the content aware fill. It was designed to make removing unwanted objects or distracting elements from your photos as easy as possible. So, content aware fill is a great Photoshop technique you can use to remove objects from the background. And the last one is duplicate tool. It enables you to create the effect of sharpening, retouching, and painting, or even after you're open the image. So duplicate tool, it lets you remove objects and imperfections by duplicating pixels. The difference with the other Photoshop tool is that you can have a full control to it. So, to duplicate an object, simply select the object you want to work with using one of the selection tools we've discussed above. Then hold the Alt or Object key and drag the selection with your mouse. The object will automatically duplicate. So, to fully understand on how to use these editing tools, I have here a short video. But since we had a limited time, I will only show one editing tool, which is the quick selection tool. So we're done with the Adobe editing tools, and now let's proceed to the importance of Adobe Photoshop in teaching and learning. The first one is can manipulate and rework images for a number of purposes. So by using photo editing software, we can make a big changes to an image. Through the art of photo manipulation, we are able to transcend our image into a true piece of art. The second one is images help you explain concept. So images and media are powerful communication devices. So by simply looking at the images, we can quickly visualize what is it all about or what is the artist wants to convey to us. And the third one is engage with your learner. So when the teachers uses images in the classroom, it can get the attention of the students and also increase students' interactivity in the discussion. And also using images in teaching can help develop students' visual literacy skills. And the fourth one is enhance the usability of your materials. So you as a teacher, you can facilitate your works easier and you can cut the attention of your students and they will surely get interested in the topic being discussed. And the last one is using a lot of images to illustrate your points. Imagery works so well in conveying messages because the brain works in images and it's the most natural way for the brain to process information. It is equally important to learn Photoshop to those working in hands-on marketing roles. Whether creating flyers, brochure, or email newsletters, there's a need to learn Photoshop for optimizing and retouching your images. You can learn Photoshop even if you are a beginner with no previous experience. Knowing how to use Photoshop is an important component of your job web design training, and able to master the software hands-on content will help you grow your knowledge and experience as a web designer. And that's the end of our discussion, and I hope you learned something from today's lesson. Thank you for listening, everyone.